So, good evening to everyone. This is Gerry Hall, W1 Victor Echo, and I'm in Hancock, New Hampshire, in the cold East Coast at this time. My talk tonight is going to be about easy remote amateur radio. What are we going to talk about? First, we're going to talk a little bit about who I am and what is and why do we do remote radio? What's it all about? Um, Very important to the topic is the internet, and although some hams may not think so, the internet is our friend. Um, I'm going to talk about some of the ways remote amateur radio is done today, and then I'm going to talk about remote the easy way, which is a system I've developed that is very low cost, very effective, and works very well. I'll talk about some tips and tricks, and then I'll leave time, of course, for Q&A because I'm sure a lot of people will want to talk about that. So who am I? I don't know if I've met anybody on the call here tonight, but a lot of hams in the hobby. So I'm an extra class ham who I'll celebrate 50 years in the hobby in August. So been doing this a very long time and love it every day. I'm primarily a CW operator, but I enjoy contesting and DXing, and I like team sports like contesting or the expeditions. Um, I'm a retired software engineer where I worked in many industries, including broadcasting, healthcare, and manufacturing. And near the beginning of my career, I actually worked at ARRL headquarters in the tech department, working under Doug DeMaw. So a lot of time in ham radio. Um, I'm very active, and much of my time is spent helping people build and operate stations remotely. So hopefully, I can just give you some knowledge on the subject. So, what is and why do we want to do remote amateur radio? Simply put, remote amateur radio is operating a communication system over remote control, typically over the internet. Now, people been doing this for a very long time, using Echolink and link repeaters and DMR. But more specifically, I'm going to talk about remote HF station control. Now, people will ask, well, why do I want to remote my station? Why do we want to do remote amateur radio? Well, the number one reason today for a lot of people is restricted space for antennas. HF antennas tend to be big, and homeowners associations, HOAs, exclusive living regions don't want any antennas outside. And you could spend a lot of money with a lawyer trying to get a tower permit. Or, as one antenna lawyer put it to me, if you live in a restricted area, a community where you're not supposed to put up antennas, if you take a compass and do a 30-mile circle around your property, there's guaranteed to be property for sale that has no restriction for antennas. So you could put a small building on the property, put up your towers, and operate your station remotely, probably for less than the cost it would be to fight in litigation. So that's one possibility. Um, People have impossible radio QTHs. They live in the middle apartment of an apartment building and no way to get to the roof and very, very compromising antennas outside if you can do any at all. Some people are we're all aging out here, getting older, and have to go to assisted living or other types of arrangements where no way you're going to be able to put up an amateur radio station, but you don't want to give up your hobby. You want the ability to operate. And so by going remote, you can still use your hobby, enjoy it, either by putting up a station somewhere else yourself, or sharing a friend's ham station and connecting to it remotely. Um, some people want to do remote for better location opportunities. If you live on either coast, land is becoming very premium and properties are incredibly expensive. And even for very small lots, you're paying a lot of money. So often, guys will band together and put up a station in a great location and remote to it. Um, Remote provides excellent command and control easily, and you, you can explore the world with remote radio. Another way of saying it is you could do remote because you can. It's now able to be done. So the internet is our friend. And the reason I titled this slide this way is because I do hear from some amateurs that, oh, kids are all on the internet and they're not interested in radio. But I find that to be not the case, not really. Um, we live in a world that's very pretty much has ubiquitous high-speed internet, and that means you have DSL, you have cable modems, you have fiber to the home. In most developed countries, you're going to have one of those options. Um, even and in developing nations, they have 4G and 4G LTE and 5G cellular is usually the way the telephone system is developed. So you have cellular data. Um, and now with low latency satellite internet, Starlink is available for just about anywhere on Earth. So there's no reason to not to be able to operate to no technical reason to not to be able to operate amateur radio remotely just about anywhere on Earth. And there are many techniques for setting up remote control of HF amateur stations. Um, a lot of amateur equipment manufacturers have facilities built into gear to operate remotely, and specifically things like Flex with IP radios allows you to operate over the internet. In addition, though, there are easy off-the-shelf techniques that are low to zero cost and offer robust capabilities. So, what about the internet and amateur radio? As a modern HF operator, the internet has become part of our daily lives as hams. You look at online propagation tools. You look at things like solar ham to understand what's going on with the sun. If you're a DX or a contester, you use DX spotting networks. So the internet is integrated and part of our lives. Why not use it for remote? As effective communicators, we should think of the internet as a tool, as a tool in the toolbox of communication. Of course, we want to continue to use our allocated spectrum for on-air communications. The internet is just another means for expanding our communications horizon. Excuse me while I take a sip. I'm just getting over a cold. So, what kind of remote radio solutions are out there? Well, these pictures illustrate some of the pieces of equipment that are available now and that many hams use. In the upper left corner is the box is called Remote Rig, and Remote Rig um, is two boxes. One goes at your radio station, one goes at your remote location, and you don't need any computers to use it. And what it does is it takes mic audio or CW keying and converts it into digital. It connects over the internet, and you do the reverse on the other end. It works with just about any radio. It can work with radios that have a remotable front head, etc. The disadvantage of remote rig and about a lot of these applications that I'm going to talk about is that the remote rig box that goes at your station is a server application. And what does that mean? That means that you need to be able to get to the IPv4 address of your remote rig box from the outside world. And in a lot of situations, that's not possible. If you're on satellite, if you're on 4G LTE, or you're behind a wireless ISP that uses a certain kind of networking, it's impossible to get an IPv4 address. So this solution does require port forwarding, and it does require a public IPv4 address. And again, it's general. It can work with many radios. On the right is EmComm's RS, RSBA1, which is a software application that runs on your PC and connects using the cables to the radio to remotely control EmComm radios. Again, This is a server application. There's a piece that runs on your station, and this is the remote client you're looking at here. Again, it requires port forwarding and the ability to set up or have a public IPv4 address. In the Most of the applications that people use today are glass desktops, what we call glass desktops. So there's no physical hardware involved. With the remote rig boxes, you can have a VFO. For example, if you're using an Elecraft K3, you can use another Elecraft K3 on the other end, or the Elecraft K30, which is just the control head for the radio. So if you need to have a knob in front of you, those are ones that you can use. Um, some of the remotable head radios, you can remote the head and keep the radio part at your station. Um, but more and more popular today are these sort of glass desktop applications, which gives you all the controls of the radio, but you tune them by touching the dials and using the mouse or your finger if you have a touchpad device. So that's the icon on the top right. In the center there on the left is Kenwood's ARCP series, and they have ARCP for, I think, from the TS 2000, the TS 590S and SG, um, and it's free. You can download it from the Kenwood site. Again, uh, if you want to, they have a piece that allows you to run this software remote from your station, uh, and it requires port forwarding and a public IPv4 address, which is a very common thing if you want to run remote this particular way. Again, on the bottom, not the bottom, but on the right on the second set there, is Yaesu's new control software for the icon for the Yaesu. Uh, uh, what's the darn radio main now? The SGC the LAN 10 that controls the FTDX 10 and the FTDX 101 transceivers, and it works very well. It also requires port forwarding. It also requires, you can't do CW with it. It only supports sideband. So if you're a CW op, you got to be careful about that. Then on the bottom is something that's been quite popular. And this is a website and software called Remote Hams. And KG6YPI, one of the employees at Elecraft, first developed this software. And it's pretty cool. It works with most radios. You set up server software at your station location, and it provides kind of a generic interface to many, many types of radios. And you can have one or more remote operators. It has some cool features that allows you to control access to the station. For example, some people can connect and listen to it, others can connect and operate the station. And he has some mechanisms for determining if the operator has the sufficient privileges to be able to operate the radio. Again, this operates in has to be a public IPv4 address to get to his software that runs on your station. But once that's done and you've done the port forwarding, away you go, and you can operate remote. So these are just some examples. I mean, there's the Flex series of radios, which are natively designed to operate over the internet, and they have their own VPN for connecting radios. So I'm not going to speak directly to Flex, but I'll certainly answer any questions you might have about them. So what I'm really going to talk about tonight is my simple remote technique. So here's my goals. I want KISS at low cost, so very simple and very low cost. I want it to support CW, SSB, and digital modes. I want to serve the needs of casual operators as well as hardcore DXers and contesters who want really, really good performance. I want the software to be performant, good enough for de-expeditioning or contesting anywhere on Earth. I also wanted it to be easily adaptable to other activities within the amateur community. And I'll show you an idea that I had, which is an example of using these techniques. So, what are the basic components for Easy Remote? One is a Windows station computer with a remote desktop client. Now, many of you, I'm sure, have used remote desktop clients for business or various other activities that you're involved in. Um, the two that I like to use for my Easy Remote are AnyDesk and RustDesk. AnyDesk and RustDesk are both what are called rendezvous servers. What that means is you never have to know what the IP address or the address of the other station you're connected to is. Both sides connect as clients. So this means if you have AnyDesk on your station computer, it connects to any other party without knowing where they are. AnyDesk is a free slash commercial application. You can apply to use it for free. Um, and RustDesk is an open source version of AnyDesk and provides very, very good remote desktop capability. Um, so when you have a remote desktop client, it means that the person, the remote on the other end of your station, sees exactly what you see on the desktop of your station. So you're ready to go. If you already have if you use a logging software that provides ways of keying the radio, you can simply run remote that way. Or you can run a glass desktop client and control all aspects of your station. If you have antenna rotor control or antenna switches or power switching for AC, all those things can be on the desktop of your station. When you have remote desktop, now the remote person has access to all those things as well. But the other key component to providing basic remote is an audio transport. The audio transport has to be robust and it has to have a minimum amount of latency. That's the network delay time, and adapts well to jitter, which jitter is the instantaneous change in latency over time. And there are two free audio clients that perform these tasks very well. The two best candidates I found are Sonobus and Mumble, which are both free clients available on the internet from sonobus.com and mumble.com. Sonobus is a peer-to-peer, it uses peer-to-peer audio. It has excellent network discovery, so it can always find the other person on the other end, and supports stereo. Uh, a lot of contesters that do SO2R, single op 2 radio, love it because it does stereo. It's not quite as robust as Mumble, but that's what I'm going to talk about next. So, what is Mumble? Mumble is a free client-server high-performance audio package available for all platforms. It has a server component and a client component. Um, Mumble has a channel architecture, which is really interesting. So when you set it up, you can have as many channels as you need, and any number of parties that are connected in the same channel hear each other. Okay, so to set up a simple remote, you have an AnyDesk client, for example. You set up a Mumble client, and you connect the audio, and you connect the audio at the station side to the transceiver audio, which can either be via USB or via audio connections to a sound card in the PC, and you connect. And as you see in the bottom, and I'll go over another instance of a Mumble client later. Um, you see that we have an on-air, typical servers that I have an on-air chat room. So if you want to talk, an off-air chat room. So if you want to talk to people and not be on the air, maybe for coordination or something, you can talk there, or you can set up any number of on-air channels which can represent radios. So to connect remotely at the station side, you just leave Mumble running with the transceiver on or off, and allow other people to connect remotely. Mumble has login security for the server, and then there are other sets of security that you can do to set access rights. So say, for example, you had a club station. and you wanted to show people what operating on air was like. You could set up what's called a token that allows one operator to have full control over mumble audio, but any number of other people could log in and they would only be able to hear. So you would prevent them from interfering with somebody who was trying to do a demonstration, etc. And that's kind of the nuts of it. But there's a secret sauce to Mumble. So since you have a Mumble server in the middle between you and your remote, even if you're across, even if you're up in your living room and the station's down in the basement, um, the secret sauce for using Mumble is to use a Mumble server that is not at your station or remote. It is either close to your station or close to your remote operating position. The reason for that is you want to provide the lowest latency and the lowest jitter between you and other stations. Additionally, it puts very little pressure on the remote station. For example, um, if you were running Sonobus and you connected many clients to a Sonobus station, you increase the bandwidth required to distribute the audio. In Mumble, if there's only one, the station sending receive audio to Mumble, that's only one connection to the actual station. All of the other clients connect to the Mumble server, and the Mumble server's set up to provide a lot more bandwidth. So, because this works very well, I have 14 Mumble servers around the world shown on this map. Uh, they provide extremely low latency to most any location on Earth, and they're absolutely free to use. So, and the reason why I'm not going to go into a lot of super technical detail here is because go to my site, https remote.radio. It has full instructions about how to set up Mumble, how to set up for proper operation, and how to connect the servers. If you do that, you can be on remote in a half an hour. I mean, it's really pretty basically simple. What radios does it work with? It works with any radio that provides cat control. That's really the only thing you need to enable yourself to control the radio. Um, some examples about how well this works. Um, I operate from New Hampshire, and if you look down in the bottom of Africa there, I have a server in South Africa, which is an AWS tiny little AWS instance of a Mumble server, and I operate that to a station in Malawi, in Western Africa there, and the station in Malawi runs on 4G LTE, and that's all there is available in the country. And I can do perfect SSB over that connection with no breakup in the audio or anything. The reason for that is the latency from the AWS server in South Africa to Malawi is about 30 milliseconds. Um, I was in California last week, and the latency from Visalia, California, to the instance in South Africa was about 130 milliseconds. So Amazon has great connections, um, and so we were able to operate from there. I've done many contests and made probably 13,000 QSOs from this to this remote in Africa. So we have them strategically placed around the world. One of the reasons for that is because during some de-expeditions that I've been on, we were using Starlink as our internet connection to a yacht that was AA7JV's RIB de-expeditions. And depending on where the operator was in the world, we could get lower latency by going to different parts of the Earth, even with Starlink. So actually, we used to have one in Seattle, and that was very good for North American operators and operators in Japan and yeah, I guess Japan and Thailand use our Sydney server. It provided a very good operation. So this kind of enables this technology to be used simply and easily and at low cost. So what about Mumble and EmComm? This is a neat idea I had. So Mumble servers are multi-channel, and each channel can be listen only, speak or talk only, or both. Permissions can be set for each connected user. Hundreds of users can be on a server. So what if, let's say you had an event to do a road race, and a bunch of your operators had broken HTs, or you didn't have enough radios, but you had a bunch of inexpensive Chinese radios lying around. Well, one interesting aspect of all those inexpensive Chinese radios is they have Vox. They support Vox. So if you had, you could connect a bunch of those radios to your local repeaters and turn them on Vox. And mumble is digital audio, so when not transmitting, it's perfectly silent, just like squelch. And you could connect that to a mumble server. Oh, and as a matter of fact, you could connect if you wanted to be able to monitor police and fire. You could put that on the mumble server as well on their own channels, and set that up for, of course, listen only. And you could actually bleed. You can allow some audio from one channel to bleed into another. So if you wanted to have one in the background, you could do that. So with that Mumble server on the internet, you could then use a Mumble client, which is available on all platforms. Put it on your iPhone or your Android PC, and allow users in your community or anywhere to be able to connect to that server and be able to talk. And you don't need a specific Echo Link client or anything like that. And this could be set up very quickly. Just a an audio and speaker audio from there into the Mumble server, into a Mumble client, which would connect to the Mumble server. So you'd need multiple clients that would connect to the Mumble server. Um, but just another idea to think about how you could use Mumble in amateur radio. So how well does this work? And this is the question I get all the time. Uh, I've been on three very large DXpeditions using this Mumble audio with remote desktop, uh, VP6A, E51D, and N5J, and mostly doing CW. And we had over 150,000 CW QSOs remotely. Um, I operate a station in the Cayman Islands that we operate hybrid, multi-single, and multi-multi. And we've had multiple remote operators along with local people, and three whirlwinds so far with that. And again, my station in the station I operate with Don Jones, K6ZO, is 7Q2T in Malawi, and we had over 13,000 remote. I've had over 13,000 QSOs from New England on CW and SSB in the last 6 months. So very, very reliable. Um, for over 7 years, I've been operating a station in Whitehorse, Yukon, which is owned by VY1JA, VY1AAA. So if you've been in any state QSO parties or sweepstakes or anything like that, you may have worked me at VY1AAA, and those are all been over remote. So simple remote using RDP plus Mumble provides high quality remote operation to everyone, and it's not expensive. So you don't need to buy a $6,000 or a couple of $6,000 radios to be able to operate remote and have a lot of fun. So tips and tricks. RTFM. Most hams don't. Um, I have a lot of documentation at remote.radio. And if you read all that, I think you're pretty much ready to go. But I'm always around. You can email me or get hold of me, and I'm happy to help. Um, Automation is the key to success in your remote HF station. So even if you've got the radios all in front of you, if you can make the control of the radios, control of your antennas, control of your switching on the desktop at your station, you instantly have that all available on the remote very easily. You don't remote any controls. You keep all the controls on your station PC and use automation on that desktop. So for people are going to ask right away if you're a CW operator, how do you do CW? If you use a paddle, you're in trouble, but not for long. Um, all of us use keyboard CW when we use this kind of remote, and that keyboard CW is provided by either a logging program or there's a lot of utilities that allow you to generate CW. So the CW is generated at your station, and you listen to it over Mumble. Um, However, that said, I'm working on a paddle key solution for Mumble that'll allow you to use a paddle. All you'll need is a laptop, a serial port, and a paddle, and some software, and you'll be able to do CW over this technique. But it's not quite ready for prime time yet. Maybe I'll do another talk when that's ready. Um, Always use the right microphone. I have many people uh, with have trouble because they get their Heil mic or some other dynamic mic. But with Mumble, you're not using your station's audio. You're your Riggs audio. You're using Mumble, which is PC audio, and PC audio doesn't use dynamic mics. They're all electrets. So you need to supply voltage, and they have to be of the right impedance, or they won't work. So uh, the best kind of headset is a gaming headset made for a PC. It works really well. So that's it. But it's Q&A. Got lots of time left here. Fire away with questions.
Open this up. Barry, what do you got in chat?
Let me see. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Barry, are you there? I guess we lost Barry. Barry usually takes care of chat. He's not with us right now for some reason. So, yeah, in chat it says, can anyone tell me what a remote rig set costs?
Oh, yes. Well, the nominal price, the last time I bought one was I think that's $258 per side. So $258 per side. But right now, I don't know of anyone that's selling it in North America. It used to be sold by Ham Radio Outlet, but you have to buy direct from Sweden now. So I don't know what the associated shipping costs are.
Okay, another one here. I'll catch you in a minute there, Tom. Why not TeamViewer?
Certainly. I didn't mention TeamViewer, but TeamViewer is so. This is all about aggressive sales. TeamViewer is very aggressive about making you buy a copy of their software. AnyDesk, much less so. But you got to. They have a whitelist where you can whitelist yourself as being non-commercial. But TeamViewer, if you have it and you have a license, will work perfectly.
Okay, Tom, you got your hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you, Don. What I'd like to know, can I be heard, first of all?
Yes, you're doing fine.
Okay. What I'd like to know is, can you use this for just a distance through a building like a hospital without
Sure.
involving the internet, just on a dry set of Ethernet?
Absolutely. So if you have a PC that you can run a Mumble server on, absolutely, you can run it and just connect over local LAN addresses. It will work fine. And there's many. If you just Mumble servers run typically on Linux, and there are many instructions on the internet how to do it. It's like a 5-step process to install. Runs on any of the distributions, and there's a configuration file. Once you set that up, you're ready to go. All of the channel configuration and things of that nature are done through the client, not through the server. So the server is pretty basic.
Yeah, the question gets a little involved though, because if you want an argument and a panic attack, you talk to a hospital's IT person and say, we'd like to connect into your network. We'd like a pair. They'll just go suborbital instantly. They don't want you there.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about over a dry Ethernet cable.
Oh, I mean, so you want to go from the clients, the users, to this server on a private LAN is what you're essentially saying.
Yeah, one piece of cable, I think it works up to 100 meters. It's about 300 feet. That'd get us to the machinery penthouse. And then we could have the antenna 15 feet from the radio and yet we'd be down on a second floor in the hospital's EOC during the event.
Right, right. Okay, I understand. Yeah, that would work fine. That would work fine.
Anybody else? Oh, come on now. You guys are not that bashful. Well, this has been a great presentation. I really appreciate you coming on and doing this. And I hope you do come back and give a presentation on that paddle thing and so forth. There seemed to me that there was a company, I think I even, I moved to a different location. Most of my amateur shack is sitting in boxes right now. But a key that was intended for that. In other words, you had to have the same key on both ends, but they talked to each other and used the paddles. You know what I'm talking about?
There may be some software. So I'll tell you what my technique is. It's quite interesting, actually. So there is a non-amateur who wrote a Windows application that is a keyer for Windows. It's a you know paddle or straight key CW, but it's an iambic. It supports iambic. It supports all the modes. It's very very well written, but its output is not to key a radio. Its output is a side tone. And there are a couple of services on the internet where people rag chew on CW, not over radio but over the internet, and they use this keyer. So I thought about it, and the mumble audio circuit is digital audio. It's only there when you're sending audio through it. So what I'm doing is using his keyer to send the audio into mumble, and from the at the remote end at the station, you're receiving the audio. It will have latency on it. It won't be exactly the same, but I wrote some software to take that audio and convert it back into the pulses of CW, which drive a transistor switch, like a DTR off of a DTR line of a serial port, and that generate you plug that into the key jack of the radio, and it regenerates the CW. So I'm just tweaking the software that goes on the PC end. But again, all you need is this guy's software, which is called it's called oh, what's it called? Morse keyer, Windows Morse keyer, and you can download it at any time and play with it. But you connect your paddle pins to pins on a serial port, and it works just like any iambic keyer that you would have. So with this, you'll be able to do this without any special thing other than some software on each end.
Well, you head in the right direction, I'll tell you. Okay, Tom, you got your hand back up. Take it away.
Is the Kenwood D710 series of radios natively capable of doing remote without, say, remote rig or?
Well, okay, so let me explain. So any radio, I'm not familiar with that radio, but any radio is remotable, okay, as long as you can get audio into it and audio out of it, and it has rig control. It has to have some way to do cat control of the frequency and other operations of the radio. So if you have that, you can do remote. I mean, I've done remote with TS 930s and radios that had cat control long before the internet was invented. Was popular.
The D710 has a remotable head, and that's why, and three of our hospitals are equipped with them, so that's why I was curious about that.
Okay, yeah. So I don't know if the question with remote heads is if the cat the remote head talks to the other end using like RS-232. If it does, you can use remote rig to do that.
Well, that's great because there is a undocumented feature of the 710 that you can put its cat signals through its mic circuit. So
There you go.
So if we can talk to it, we can get cat signals to it.
Yeah, that's excellent.
And one last piece of software I wanted to make you aware of is called Morse KOB, which means key on board. It's for landline telegraphy. But the nifty thing about it is at the other end, it's designed to control an electromechanical sounder.
Right.
And it turns that sounder on and off. And if you can't make that turn a radio on and off, I don't know what's wrong. But I
Okay,
think,
yeah, I'll have to take
I
a look
think
at
it
that.
would work. Yeah, Morse KOB.
Morse KOB.
And some of the lines rigged up for it are not American. So you can actually find people like Australians and French and Germans who use international code on sounders. Uh, so, have at it. Thanks.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, sounds good. Barry, you want to pick up on chat? How we doing?
Sure. Richard has a question. I think it's interesting. Can I connect to and control my remote via my smartphone?
Well, sure. I would rather do it with a tab. If you use this technique, I would rather do it with a tablet. But for example, Mumble's available on everything. Okay, Mumble is available on every mobile platform, which are basically iPhone and Android these days. It's available on Linux, et cetera, et cetera. So that gets you your audio. For controlling your rig, again, you can use these remote desktop clients. They're provided on for smartphones, and it's just that the size limitations of the desktop. It's a little hard to rotate around and move around, but I've made many QSOs that way. I use an iPad, so an iPad is a 10-inch form factor, is a much easier way to do it.
Easier to see too.
Yes, yes.
Okay, anybody else? I don't see any hands up. I don't see any more questions. Wait a minute. Barry, is there a question?
Could you use N5 NHU Max Nucci's recent Morcone gadget for CW?
I'm not familiar with it. I'll have to check it out.
Okay. That's everybody in chat.
Yeah, okay. Anybody got any? Hi, Ralph. I just saw you out there. RK. Ralph, I go back a little ways there. Hi, Ralph. Anybody else got any comments, questions, answers?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much. Really appreciate your coming and doing this.
Yes, it has been.
Appreciate it. I'm glad to talk about it. It's a really hot topic in amateur radio today, especially on HF, and more and more people are doing it again because of these restrictions. They don't have places where they can put up antennas.
There's all kinds of efforts afoot to try to ease up the HOA requirements across the nation. But even if they do, even if they were successful in making it so that the hams could put antennas up, there's still a lot of people got an awful small lot and a lot of restrictions. So this helps them out a lot.
Absolutely. So, I mean, as far as I understand it, if they get an HOA law, it's going to be some minimum antenna, and there are lots of hams that don't want a minimum antenna, right? So this is a way to solve it.
Yes, yes, yes.
My
Okay.
county, to their sorrow, found out that rooftop towers only 6 feet high. They have no legitimate way to say it's a safety hazard because it's incapable of falling farther than the roof does, and the roof may not come into their considerations under state law. So they cry in the blues that you can have a full beam up there on your roof line as long as the roof will support it.
Yep. Yep. The other advantage of remote is, yeah, you don't piss off your neighbors. uh, um, I have a good friend who spent probably several $100,000 litigating for his QTH. He got it, but his wife and he and his wife could not live there because of the hatred in the community, and so they actually moved to another country and built a huge ham station and were successful. So yeah, there's trade-offs everywhere.
People are funny. I don't care where you live or where you're at. People are interesting. We're an interesting species to deal with.
Yes, for sure.
If you have time for a very brief story, I think you'll enjoy it. When I first got in amateur radio, my Elmer said, "Here's some wire, get your antenna up." And I said, "Raj, I don't even have a receiver. Please do not argue with me. This is real important." So, giving me the ugliest wire that existed in the world that would grab your eyeballs and shake them, I put the antenna up as instructed. He knew what he was doing. It drew the complaint artist out of the woodwork before I had so much as a key. And then he'd go to each of their houses with me and he says, Tom doesn't have a radio yet. You want to explain to me why you think he's ruining your 1950 Admiral television? And why you think he should repair your washing machine and why you think he, and on, knocked him out one right after another. I thought that was the most brilliant move I'd ever seen.
That's pretty good.
That is good. Good advice. We need more Elmers like that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we may be wrapping it up a little bit early tonight.
Okay.
Like another quick check here. How we doing? How we doing in chat there, Barry?
Good.
Okay. I don't see any more hands up. It's been a great presentation. Again, I hope when you're getting ready to come back, give us a ring-a-ding and we'll get you back in here.
Sounds good. I'd be happy to.
Okay. Well, with that, and there's a lot of people that are saying thank you, thank you, thank you, and I'll say thank you. I'm going to pull the plug, say 73s, and see you all next week.